Hello, hi, welcome to the May wrap up. I'm gonna try to make this fast. One, because it's hot and stuffy in here. Two, my mom just started mowing the lawn, and I want to finish it before she gets right next to my room. Because then it gets real loud. So here we are. I'm gonna do it fast. This is also the era around halfway through the month, maybe 3/4 of the way through the month. I did start pre-recording for when I go away for a month, because it's like 90% confirmed gonna happen. So, that's a thing. Or whatnot. I think that's everything. I'm gonna go into it. I have read 14 books in May, which is kind of average for me. And then, but the pages read total is less than average at 2,517. This is where we're gonna bring up in my April wrap up. I brought up there was a book that was going into May. I did not finish it. I decided to soft DNF it because I'm in my romance era. I'm still in my romance era. We can blame Bridgerton. I labeled it as an April only book because I decided on like May 1st. That's what I was gonna do. I think I read like 3 pages in May. So just know I did soft DNF Lakewood in between the time of me recording that and really starting to read for May. I listened to 37.5 hours of audiobook with an average rating of 3.84. It was for like half the month, it was over 4 stars, and I'm mad. There was one reread and one author of color, which I think is the poetry collection, right? Genres, we have a classic, 3 erotica, 2 fantasy, 3 graphic novels, a horror, the poetry collection, and 3 romances. Again, I'm in my romance era. And yet, format I read, 4 audio, 7 ebook, 2 physical that I have with me, and 1 mixed media, which is obviously audio ebook. And I will talk about that one because I am heated. Audience, 4 middle grade. I think one of those is the poetry collection, but 3 of them are the graphic novels, which I will talk about in one sitting because I read them back to back. 9 were adult and 1 was YA. And then 1 was debut, 2 were new to me authors, and the rest were authors I read before. Ratings, 5-star. I had one of them. It was a reread though. So the 4.5 is the one that was the favorite of the month. There's also 4.25, 5 4 stars. 3.75, a 2.75, a 2, and 3 that I did not rate, which are the eroticas, which are Katie Roberts. The end. I'm going to talk about the books I actually read now. Speaking of erotica I did not rate, it is in the finishing series vlog. At least books 2 and 3 in the series. But the first book I read was Gift Me to His Best Friend. It is also a podcast episode. Right. It's a bunch of taboo romances by Katie Roberts. That's the whole entire series. The first one was my favorite. The fourth one is my least favorite. I will talk about it when I get to that one. Second one is a throuple one. It's the gayest one of the bunch. So there's that. It is about this woman and her husband best friend. Both of them happen to be, both the husband and the husband's best friend happen to be bi, and whatnot. And kind of always had a thing for each other, but didn't really do anything about it. She recognizes this and also has a fantasy about the 3 of them being a thing together. And so it's supposed to be like for one night for Christmas, he watches his wife bang his best friend. But done, they're all kind of really into it. Fellas, is it straight to both be going at your wife at the same time and then as you're going at it, holding each other's hands in her hair? I'm just asking. This one was actually kind of good too. Still didn't rate it though. And yeah, that's the thing I read. We don't need to talk about it. Next thing I read is the reread that's over here. I still love how horrible this cover is. This cover is so horribly done, and I love it. A Week to Be Wicked. My favorite Tessa Dare. Honestly, possibly, I'm going to say confirmation. I think there's only one other historical romance. A Rogue of Its One Zone. Yeah, Rogue of One Zone that's up there. Because that one's annotated. I didn't annotate this one because this is the first time I read it physically. because I bought myself this. In mass market on purpose. Don't worry. But yeah, other than that, I think this is the only straight historical romance. Like, this is my favorite straight historical romance. And that one's on the fence just because the male main character is bi in that one. So, you know, I would be surprised if Colin's bi in this one. The way his name's Colin. Anyways, I've had the urge to reread this for months now. And then the Fish Bestie was like, hey, it is your birth month. And I think it was my birthday, or around my birthday when I read it. Here, let me check. Yeah, May 2nd through May 6th. So yeah, it went through my birthday. And so they were like, fucking read it. Why not? Also, I was impatiently waiting for season 3, part 1 of Bridgerton. I should have waited. The way I didn't know there was going to be a carriage scene in that show. And there was a carriage scene in this. The other historical romance also had a carriage scene. That's funny. Anyways, this follows, what's her name? Minerva, who is very much, sciencey girl. She's a nerd. She wears glasses. She has an older sister who's very beautiful, so people just, like, ignore that she exists, because her head's too busy in a book, and, like, people ignore her, and Colin kind of has had a flirtation with her. But she thinks that he's going to try to marry her sister, because, like, he is a lord, and her sister is beautiful, and there's this whole thing where, if he gets married by a certain date, he gets his, inheritance earlier, and then he can leave the town of Spindle Cove, which he despises. She is scared that this is gonna happen, so she's like, hey, I don't care if I am ruined. I will pay you to not marry my sister and instead escort me to, I think, Edinburgh for this convention, science convention. She has a footprint. It's a big deal. That's under the water caves, blah, blah, blah. That is a big scientific discovery, and she wants to go display it at this scientific thing in Edinburgh. But she has to get there, and it's kind of difficult for a single woman to travel alone. So she's like, I will pay you to travel with me. I will make it look like you were hit on me and we ran away together, and then you leave me, and I don't care if I'm socially ruined, because, like, I'll have scientific stuff going on. And he does deny her multiple times. They do kiss at one point, before he agrees to the plan, but eventually he's all, like, too enamored with her, and no, she's like, I'm gonna do it with or without you. I'm just be safer with you, right? So he eventually agrees to go with. They're on the road. He has a thing against carriages because, you know, the time that he was in a carriage accident with both of his parents, and both of them died right in front of him, and he was stuck in the carriage for hours in the night with wolves howling on his own. As a child, he may have a little bit of PTSD, and that's why he's trouble sleeping alone. That's another, like, part of the deal. It's like, he can't physically sleep alone. That's why he's, like, known as Ladies' Man. Like, he's sleeping with a woman, but he's not banging them every time. He's literally just sleeping. Because that's the only way he can sleep. And she's like, he's like, you're gonna have to sleep in the bed as me. She's like, cool. So he uses his charisma to try to get them to Edinburgh time, but quickly realizes, I'm kind of into her. Because she lets her guard down and whatnot, and he's, like, the first person to, like, actually notice her for her, and whatnot, and just a bunch of shit happens. There's one point where, like, he's taken by bandits, and he's like, go contact my cousin, blah, 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 and she instead turns around, comes back, and shoots one of them. Iconic. And then at the end, he does propose, and he's all like, hey, I kind of love you, but I want to properly court you, so, like, we're not gonna get married, we're just gonna get, like, kind of engaged, but I'm gonna properly court you, and then we'll get engaged, and then we'll get married, because you deserve a proper courtship, and not this road trip, banditry, psychotic, like, every possible thing that could go wrong went wrong, and sometimes it is his charisma that gets him in trouble. Iconic. Also, how did I not remember the scene when he tricks her into singing for him, and he's like, holy shit, you can sing, and how do I not know this? And she's like, because my sister's the pretty one that everyone cares about if she can sing or not, or play the in like piano and all this other stuff. Like, the only one anyone actually cares about doing normal feminine pursuits is my older sister, because she's the pretty one. So I never really got trained or anything, because I just had glasses and read books and lived my life. And so, like, and also I don't want to show her up with my singing because she's the pretty one. It's like, it's her thing, right? I'm the smart one. She's the pretty one. Anyways, it's a good book, 5 stars. Right? Then I read the 3rd book in the Taboo Romance series. Again, finishing series vlog. My Dad's Best Friend. This one was the one that disappointed me, because for the first, like, half-ish, I was really into the love interest, basically. She's had a thing for him for a while. She made her feelings for him when she was, like, 22 and he turned her down. But she shows up at his doorstep in the middle of a storm because she needs his help with his business stuff, because she runs her father's business. And he turns her down for that, but then she can't leave because storm, so they start until the storm ends. It does come out what actually happened, why she needs his help while the business is failing, which is basically sexism. And this, listen, up until this point, he's very big on consent, and I love him for it. Until this point, when he gets her to tell him finally what went wrong with business, which is sexism, and he blatantly says, on more than one occasion, it's your fault. And it is a podcast episode. We talked about it. So I strongly believe, talking about it, having this conversation, that it's supposed to be in a, hey, maybe you should stop trying to chase down these people who left the business because sexism, and actually find people who respect you. But that's not what he says. He says it's your fault. It's your fault that sexism is happening, is technically what he says. And she takes it as the first option. And it's like, thank you for always being plain, like, saying it straight to me. But it definitely reads him saying it's your fault that sexism is happening. Like, get over yourself and stop complaining about sexism, because it's like, you know, hello, hi, I'm back to talk about sexism. There's this bug my phone camera did. Like, I want to say like 2 years ago, where it went all weird, pink static. And it just did it again. Wild. It has not done that in like over a year. It's fine. We don't need to talk about it. I literally just closed the app and reopened it and it was fine. We're moving on. We're talking about this book. Yeah, no, it definitely reads as sexism is your fault. Get over yourself. Stop it. And like, he gives advice, which is stop following those people and find people who respect you, basically. And also, you're a charismatic person, do that. Which, like, valid, but, like, you're ignoring the sexism aspect. And my opinions are, make a part of the contract when people sign up for your expertise and whatnot, where if they leave because, you know, sexism, then they have to pay the fine. Like, they have to pay a fine. So you're still, like, gaining money despite the fact that you're, like, wasting months and months on these people. I feel like when her father was already planning to switch the company over to her, like, this already should have been a thing in place. And also the customer should have already known that was going to happen, because that was a planned thing for years. We're ignoring it. Next thing, I read a bunch of books for a vlog where I read books with flowers on the cover for my birthday. Blah, 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 blah. The first thing I read was the whole entire Tea Dragon Society trilogy series by Kay O'Neill. It's the graphic novels, right? That I love them all. I rated all of them 4 stars. They're great. I highly recommend it. If you can get your hands on them, read them. It is about tea and dragons and community and friendship. There's representation everywhere. So, one of the characters, I don't know how many books, but definitely a lot of books. Because books 1 and 3, because the second one is like a prequel of the first one, there is a character in a wheelchair. The second one does have because it's like takes place right before the accident that, it's not really an accident. He fights a dragon. I think it was a dragon that throws him, and that's how he ends up in a wheelchair. But like that doesn't stop him. He's still off doing adventures, find things for a bit, before he settled down. But there's a character who's deaf in his hometown. So that's the thing in the second one. But like that book, two of those books, there's a character in a wheelchair, and then the other physical book, there's a character in a wheelchair, and then there's another book with a character in a wheelchair. And as far as I can tell, as a person who is not in a wheelchair, at least in that aspect, able-bodied, I think it was good representation in all of them. At least in this one, it was definitely the best in this trilogy. The art style is so adorable and gorgeous, and I love it. And there's people all over the place with they, them pronouns. There's people with female characters dating other female presenting characters. The artwork is spectacular. I'm not gonna shut up about it. I was just ogling at the art style for a very long time. It was so gorgeous, and I sent like Snapchat streaks of it, because right, it was that time of day. And one of my friends, who's kind of bookish and very queer, went, "What the fuck are you reading? I need to read that." And I brought it up to them, and they went, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go read them. That sounds so fucking adorable." Right? So, you know, good times. The book's good. It's just, I highly recommend this trilogy, okay? It's just really good, and it's really cute. The first one's like 70 pages, and the other two both are under 150 pages. So, like, it will take you an afternoon. Read them. Next up was a poetry collection, Everything Comes Next, which was also, it was in that vlog, but also the Buzzwordathon prompt, which was, the word every, right? Which is a collection of poems by Naomi Shihab Nye. I have a list. I will put it in the description, I guess, of my favorite poems from the collection, because I don't want to speak it out loud again. So it's all my favorites, minus the one that happened to also be in this poetry collection that I read earlier this year. You know, I really liked one of her poems in this one. It's like one of my favorites. And, I think it was my favorite, actually, in this whole collection. And it happened to be in that collection as well. I was like, huh, that's funny. There is a thing where she is half Palestinian on her father's side. So, and there was some time when she was in high school, I think it was, that they did live in Gaza. So there's a lot about war and whatnot. And I don't remember when it came out exactly. Let me check. I wrote it down. 2020. And it is too hard-hitting now with some aspects of that. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's really good. You know, me and my poetry era, apparently. Then I read my 69th book of the year, which is the 4th book in the Taboo series by Katie Robert. It was not in the finishing series vlog, and it's not an episode of the podcast yet. It is going to be at some point in the future. Again, me pre-reading for one, because I read the 3 other books in the series, might as well read the 4th one, right? Because I stay in the series. But also, because me going away, right? Might as well pre-record that episode, get all that shit done. This is my least favorite. It follows a girl who, when she was like, I think it was 16, her parents died in a car accident on her birthday. Some random guy who I think was in the military with her father, who she never met, becomes her legal guardian, who's in charge of her trust and everything. And around the time that she was 18, she started going out drinking heavily on her birthday, to deal with the trauma and grief. Valid. Sometimes didn't get in the healthier situations because of it, but, you know, and somehow he always knew and would show up to save her most of the time from herself. There's only one instance where they talk about, that was definitely an unsafe situation, but otherwise, it was her saving her from herself, especially because, like, she wanted to sleep around, and he must save her from that. And so it's like, I think it's like her 25th birthday or something like that. Maybe her 26th. I don't know. The timeline of it was weird. Where officially she is in charge of her own trust now. He's no longer her guardian. Oh no, the bar's getting closer. We only have a few more bucks. I can do this fast. Anyways, can I talk louder than it? I think I can. I'm right here. That's outside the window. That's pretty kind of far away. A few feet away is fine. He shows up to be like saving her from herself. Blah, blah, blah. She's like, actually, you don't have to, because you're not my legal guardian anymore. Shut the fuck up. Sleep with me, or let me find someone else to sleep with. Like, bye. So he does. And then for the night, they have a thing where they repeat all her birthdays. If he had just admitted his feelings for her, and but they do like only 3 of them and then just stop. I don't know. It was weird. It's my least favorite. Moving on to the Jane Austen, the other physical. For the flower book, because technically my copy has flowers on it. I read Persuasion, which means the only one I have left is Mansfield Park, which is very exciting for me. Right? Like, hello? I've wanted to read Persuasion since I forgot the ribbon was out. I should put that back in there. I've wanted to read Persuasion since that horrible Netflix adaptation came out with Dakota Johnson. And you know, my main issues with that movie, listen, I read a lot of people's complaints, especially people who read the original and were big fans, blah blah, and I get it. Like, when I read those lines and I went, oh yeah, okay, yeah. But also my biggest thing is that it felt like every time I watch it, it feels like Dakota Johnson is acting across a piece of cardboard. Like, I actually thought they hired a piece of cardboard to play Captain Wentworth. Like, what? I've seen him in trailers for other things. I think he's in Shogun. I've seen him in trailers for other things in which he's actually acting and he can do it. So I don't know what happened there. Was that a director decision to just be a piece of cardboard for her to act against? But also that negates, like, that movie just, this one also has Percy wheelchair. I should mention that. She has this friend, childhood friend, who happens to be in the same town, and she hangs out with at least once a week, who's in a wheelchair. But basically the plot of this one is, she's like the sister nobody cares about in this family that is very eccentric and self-centered. And she is just like the nice person. And years ago, she did almost marry this man, but was talked out of it by a family friend who I feel like should get a lot more shit for that situation, but doesn't. And years have passed. They are out of money, basically, so they have to go rent out their big mansion and stay in the smaller place in Bath. And part of that is the family that's renting it happens to be related to that guy from her past. So he happens to be same area, is flirting with both the sisters of her brother-in-law. I think there are 3 different characters with the name Charles, maybe 4. That was a situation that was against me personally, because what the fuck, Jane? Anyways, so she's watching him flirt with these other ladies and try not to take it personally, and slowly she realizes he doesn't hate her anymore. I'm talking loudly. Anyways, basically, slowly she starts to realize, oh shit, no, he's actually in love with me. But also her cousin kind of is having a flirtation with her, but it's definitely to just confirm his place in the family, because he wants money, power, right? Because he's gonna inherit. So like, if he happens to marry one of the sisters, then that's even better, right? And all this stuff. But basically, she quickly realizes, no, Wentworth actually still cares about her more than a friend. He starts to realize that she took the opinions of others too hard, and no longer is like that. She has changed a person, but also, because like years have passed, she's like not 19 anymore. She's like 28 or something. Like, she's not gonna be 19 anymore. She's not gonna take the random opinions of people to heart anymore, but also she's like a good friend, and all this stuff. And so he recognizes this, and recognizes his hatred for her wasn't actually hatred, it was just grief of their relationship, and her like being nice to friends of his who are grieving and all this stuff, blah blah blah. They get back together at the end. It was good. I think I rated 4.25. I think on the list of Jane Austen's, okay, it goes Pride and Prejudice, then right underneath that is Northanger Abbey, and then I think this one and Sense and Sensibility are the same, and then Emma at the bottom. I still loved Emma. So at the bottom. Anyways, another book with a person in a wheelchair. In the same vlog, House of Roots and Ruin. The main love interest is in a wheelchair. And it's never like a thing. It's like kind of a thing where they're like not sure if he can have kids because of the accident that led to him being in a wheelchair and all this stuff. But basically, his father has spent a lot of time and money and energy into making the house more accessible to him. I guess it's technically a castle. More accessible to him so he can just like live his life. Like, does he need this one particular manservant to help him like get out of his chair and into bed and whatnot? Occasionally, yeah. But like otherwise he just goes around the grounds and like takes her on walks through the gardens and all this stuff. Anyways, this is a sequel to House of Salt and Sorrows, which I was mad about. This one is about the oldest sister, like decades later, or not oldest, youngest sister, decades later, who can still see ghosts. But she doesn't realize that until like in chapter 10 or something. She gets invited to this castle to paint a picture of the heir of the family, who is the guy in the wheelchair, right? They start catching feelings, stuff happen, suspicious, weird, ghost stuff, ghost murder mystery. This book is so wild. Like, is the main character so dumb sometimes? Yes. But this book is so wild in the way where I had theories about what was happening, who killed the girls, and all this stuff. And I was wrong and right equally for each of them. Like, I guess the father killed the girls because he didn't want his wife to know about his mistresses. Kind of. I guess that her fiance had a secret twin, and that's who she was seeing walking around. Kind of. Like, it's wild. And the ending, I don't think the lawnmower's getting rid of it. It's gonna be interesting to edit. Oh, now it's leaving. It's gonna be interesting to edit this. Anyways, the ending, I have lots of opinions. Will there be I think there's supposed to be a third book very far down the line, and I'm very excited. I liked it much better than the first one, 3.75. 4 more, I can do this. We can talk about the one that I hated. The mixed media. Malice. That one, the House of Return was surprised in a good way. Like, happily surprised. This one's surprised in a bad way. Like, this was so disappointing. The premise is basically Maleficent, but if instead Maleficent was not a mother figure to Sleeping Beauty, but instead a girlfriend, soulmate, confirmed, canonically soulmate. The only parts I really liked is when it would actually hint heavily at like the original, like her turning into a dragon. I was like, hell yeah, and like spindle stuff and stuff like that. I was like, hell yeah. But there's like a bunch of lore that makes no sense. I talk about it in depth in the vlog. I recommend watching the vlog. But the lore doesn't really make sense. The writing wasn't my favorite. Alice, aka Malice, was fine, but I like, there's so much horrendous bullying in it, and we don't get to see the comeuppance of, like, she technically burns him alive, but we don't get to see it, right? Also, she's a dumbass, and the only reason I finished this damn book, I was like 20% into it. It's just short of 500 pages. It's long, and it was slow. I was having a hard time reading it, but I was like, oh, I want to read it. I think I'm gonna love it. Blah, blah, blah. And I happened to get a free Audible credit at that time, so I went, I'll use it on Malice. And that's the only reason I finished, because I had already spent the credit on it, and I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I couldn't have done anything else. The third Crescent City book. I have the other two. Might as well get the third one from Audible, but no. Other book that was disappointing. While the Duke was sleeping. I have thoughts and opinions. Okay, we can blame this one on Bridgerton season 3 part 1, because afterwards I went and looked up books similar to season 3 part 1 that wasn't Bridgerton itself, because I have read the first one and part of the second one, DNF that one. I heard the fourth one is not good. I heard, which is what season 3 is based off of, and also I've heard book 3 is not good, and that they don't get good until Francesca's book. I know this because I watched a video in which someone talked in depth about every single book. I kind of went a little crazy. So I looked at this list, and a lot of them were SMP, and whatnot, so I couldn't read them. But this one happened to not be SMP. Available at my library. And based off of my favorite romance movie that is not Pride and Prejudice 2005? 8? Which is While You Were Sleeping, starring Sandra Bullock. Now, the basic premise is kind of the same, where she is, she saves the hero from an accident. In the original, it's a subway track accident. He, is being robbed, is thrown into the tracks and passes out, and she manages to roll him out of the way just in time before the train gets there, and he goes into a coma for, I think, a week. It's from Christmas Day until New Year's, right? That happens. In this one, it is a duke. In both of them, they see them at work a lot and has started infatuation with them, right? And he is not being robbed, fighting his bastard half-brother on the street, gets almost run over by a carriage, and she pulls him out of the way. And then he goes into a coma. Both of them, they are accidentally taken as the fiance, in just a scream of, after they making sure that they're in the hospital or at the house and the doctor's on the way, being like, I was gonna marry you. And then someone accidentally assumes that they are the fiance. Now, this is where a difference is. One, in the book, she has a sister. She's not in the movie. The whole point is that she's lonely. She has nobody. She's alone for Christmas. And then suddenly she has this whole family. Also, the whole reason why she's lying the whole time in that one, in the movie, is because the grandmother has a heart condition, and she could die at any moment if she learns the truth. That's why. They don't give a reason why in the book, really. It's just you should continue to lie. Is what is basically said. But basically, in both of them, the brother is kind of suspicious. Here's the difference. I think Jack is the brother in the movie. He is suspicious for 5 minutes. It's one day. He's suspicious, right? And then she's able to prove herself with accidental things. There's this whole point where they're both happen to be at the brother's apartment, and she doesn't know that he's there, and so slams the door in his face and reaches in to get ice to put on his face, and at the time sees that he has a lot of Baskin-Robbins ice cream in his freezer. And so when the brother is questioning what his favorite type of ice cream is, she happens to know, right? And stuff. It lasts a day, and then he's like, oops, sorry. In this one, in the book, this stupid book in which the brother is Scottish, and it's kind of questionable about the way things happen with that. But he is not only not believing that she's the fiance, he is violently angry, yelling at her that she's not the fiance, she's just another one of his whores. And then walks her home one night. This is one instance. It's supposed to be hot that this happens multiple times. There's a care scene in this one too, in which he forcefully pushes her against a wall and forcefully kisses her for minutes while she's just standing there completely still, what the fuck do I do? And then eventually reciprocates. It's supposed to be hot. I don't know about you, but if I forcefully kissed a girl against a wall and she just stood there completely still for minutes at a time, I just assume she's not into it, and I would change my name and move away, because what the fuck? No, I'm in the wrong. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I should be in prison. Hello? Right? And so, that's just one of many instances. But he is violently angry, telling her she is not his fiance, you're just another whore. Blatantly says that he's going to take her away from him by making her his whore instead. In the movie, Jack is a nice guy. At one point, he's escorting her home, and he doesn't want her to slip on the ice, so he falls on his ass and rips his pants, actually injures himself, and while holding her up to make sure that she doesn't fall and hurt herself. That's a thing. And also the whole big aspect of it is the loneliness. I guess she's lonely in the book, but she has her sister. And the only scene that's kind of high is at the family estate for Christmas. Her sister is being really mean to her for no reason, and which is just sister character is pointless. And he overhears this, and so he feels bad, and she's like, it's fine. She's 16 and doesn't understand all this stuff, And it's very big that he's noticed that she always takes care of everyone else, but who takes care of her? And so he's like, I'm gonna take care of her in this moment, pushes her into a closet, and then goes downtown. But this one's definitely consensual, and it is definitely hot. And then afterwards, she's done. He makes her leave because he having a hard time stopping himself from making it about his pleasure, because it's supposed to be about her pleasure and all this stuff. And I was like, but yeah. Also, the scene where he learns the truth that she's not actually his brother's fiance, and that the brother did 100% propose to her, and she briefly accepted, but then realized that she couldn't do that to herself, so she leaves, and whatnot. He like is like, oh shit, that means one, I took your verge. Why did I word it like that? And two, I called you a whore constantly, and like violently, and like said so many horrible things to you in complete darkness to your face about you and your character and all this stuff. And then when you tried to slap me or got angry about it with me, I would just call you a whore again. You get the vibe. I hate this so much. I rate it 2 out of 5 stars. He's like, oh shit. And she's like, it's fine, it's my fault. And then they have to leave after. I'm not continuing the series. I didn't like it. I did rewatch the movie while eating a Subway sandwich, and I had a good time. It was like the 6th time this year. I watched it for the first time on Valentine's Day. And I've watched it 6 times this year. It's an issue. I love it so much. I highly recommend the movie. Anyways, after that, I did start the finishing series vlog for June. So I'm not going to go in depth about these last two. First one was Rev, the sequel to Junkie, one of my favorite books of last year. I liked it fine. This one was 4 stars. It definitely feels like it should have just been one long book, which is basically what happened for the rest of the series. So this book kind of felt pointless just because it should have just been combined with the first one. That being said, I did like it. There is a lot of masculine anger and a little bit of misogyny throughout it, which also kind of tainted my view of it, because I don't have the yay happy gays admitting their gayness and being happy together and this one too, counteracting. Though I did like some of the setup for later books. It was really cute. And yeah, 4 stars. And then moving on, last night I read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher, the sequel to What Moves the Dead, which is really good. I really liked it. I liked it slightly more just because, 1, I'm kind of in a ghosty mood, and 2, it's not technically psychological thrillery, but it kind of is. It's hard to explain without going to depth, and I already have in the vlog today when I update the vlog, so I'm not gonna go in depth about it. Just know that's a thing that I will talk about, and it is my favorite of the month because I rated it 4.5, and that's the only thing that's over 4 stars. I think there was a 4. Yeah, there was Persuasion, that was 4.25. But it's the only thing over that wasn't a reread. So I'm going with it. And that's it. That's everything. I did it. My leg is falling asleep, my back hurts, and my shoulder just from all the bug bites. And I'm sweating up a storm. So I'm gonna go and turn on my fan and end this. Thank you for coming to this madness. Vlogs that I mentioned will be above the cards. Links below included are the podcast channel. If you just click on my link, so like check that out. There's a lot of Katie Roberts there, right? Other things. Next vlog will be the weekend reading vlog. Or the finishing series one. I don't remember. I may have switched them. It may be the finishing series one that I'm in the middle of recording. Either one, those are next. And then the theme vlog for the month is I let Fish pick 3 random queer books from my TBR that just happened to not be planned for another thing and happened not to be SMP. And so that's what it is gonna be. Very exciting. Good times. Last time they did a really good job. So like, exciting. And that's that. I think that's everything. I'm hot. I gotta go turn on this fan. I was gonna move my leg. Oh my god. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you for coming. Until the next video.